You're still loyal to a brand that stopped caring about you years ago. Not because the name disappeared, because the product did. The logo stayed, the store stayed, the price stayed, but the leather changed. The stitching changed, the construction that made you fall in love with the bag in the first place quietly walked out the door while the marketing kept telling you nothing had changed. 8 brands that died without an announcement. The list starts with the one that fooled the most people for the longest time. Number 8. Coach did not die loudly. It died in increments, each one small enough to miss on its own. Each one significant enough that the bag you are buying today from Coach is a fundamentally different product from the one your mother saved up for in the 1990s. The original Coach was a genuine American leather goods brand, founded in a Manhattan loft in 1941. Built around a full-grain leather designated as Coach leather that the brand developed through proprietary tannery relationships built across decades of production. That leather had a specific character, a weight in hand that reflected the density of a genuine full-grain hide. A smell that told you immediately what you were holding. A surface that developed patina and character with age, rather than peeling and cracking. The bag your mother carried for 15 years still looks good. The bag you bought last year may not make it to 5. The repositioning toward a younger, more trend-driven customer base in the 2000s required construction compromises that the original production model would not have accommodated. The coated canvas that now constitutes a significant portion of the range is a functional material. It is not leather, and charging leather-adjacent prices for a coated canvas bag is a value proposition that requires the brand name to do the work the material cannot. The genuine leather pieces that remain in the current range use a corrected grain leather in most lines, not the full-grain hide that the brand's heritage implies. Corrected grain leather has its natural surface sanded away and replaced with an artificial uniform grain. It looks consistent and premium on the shelf. It does not age the way full-grain leather ages. It does not deserve the price that the Coach name still commands in the market. The specific moment the transition became irreversible is documented in the brand's own financial reporting. In 2013, Coach reported that its North American same-store sales had declined for the first time in over a decade. The brand's response was to accelerate the repositioning rather than reverse it. More coated canvas, more logo saturation, more trend-driven seasonal releases that treated the bag as a fashion object rather than a leather goods investment. The full-grain leather customer, the woman who had been buying Coach for 15 years because the construction justified the price, was not the customer the new strategy was designed to retain. She was the customer the new strategy was willing to lose. And she did leave. But she did not leave because she stopped wanting a well-constructed leather bag at an accessible price. She left because Coach stopped making one. The women who have been carrying the same Coach bag since the 1990s understand something the current marketing cannot address directly. The bag they carry is not the same bag as the one in the current campaign, and no amount of rebranding changes what full-grain leather does over 20 years of ownership versus what corrected grain leather does over 3. The Coach that earned generational loyalty is not the Coach selling bags today. The name survived, the product did not. But the next brand on this list died for a completely different reason. Not because the construction changed, because the ownership changed. And the ownership changed everything without changing a single word of the marketing. If this list is confirming something you have quietly suspected about brands you used to love, subscribe now. Every week this channel goes exactly this deep into the brands, the construction changes, and the quiet decisions that the fashion industry makes behind closed doors, while the marketing keeps telling you everything is fine. No sponsorships, no brand deals, just the honest comparison. Number 7. Liz Claiborne. Liz Claiborne founded her brand in 1976 with a founding argument that the American market had never heard clearly before. The working woman needed clothing and accessories designed specifically for her life. Not adapted from menswear, not borrowed from couture, built from the beginning around the professional woman's daily reality. That argument was commercially vindicated on a scale that the fashion industry had not predicted. The brand became the first company founded by a woman to be included in the Fortune 500. Not through brand mythology, through a product that actually served the customer it was built for. The Liz Claiborne handbag range was part of that founding argument. Structured, professional, well-constructed bags at prices the working woman the brand was designed for could actually afford. The hardware was solid. The leather was genuine. The interior organization reflected how a professional woman actually used a bag through a working day, not how the bag photographed in a product image. Then, the corporate decisions started. A series of acquisitions, divestitures, and licensing arrangements across the 2000s and 2010s gradually separated the brand from everything that had made it matter. Each decision made financial sense in isolation. Each decision moved the brand further from the founding product that had made the financial decisions possible in the first place. The company that owned the Liz Claiborne name renamed itself Kate Spade and Company in 2014, then Tapestry in 2017. The Liz Claiborne brand was licensed to JCPenney as an exclusive house brand, where it has existed since. Attached to products that share the name of a genuine fashion pioneer without sharing the construction philosophy, the material standards, or the cultural significance that the name was built on. The JCPenney exclusive line uses materials and construction standards that reflect a price point the original brand never operated at and a retail positioning the founder never envisioned. The bags carry the Liz Claiborne name. They do not carry the Liz Claiborne standard. Liz Claiborne, the founder, died in 2007. The brand followed in everything but the legal designation. The working woman she spent her career designing for is still out there. Still dressing for professional environments, still looking for the brand that understood her the way the original Liz Claiborne once did. She has not fully found it yet. The next brand died more recently. And the speed of its collapse surprised everyone who assumed a brand this culturally embedded could not disappear this quickly. Number 6. Kate Spade, Original Vision. Kate Spade. The brand is not dead in the conventional sense. The stores are still open. The products are still being sold. The name is still generating significant revenue for Tapestry, the conglomerate that owns it. But Kate Spade, the Original Vision, the brand that Kate Brosnahan Spade built around a specific and genuinely fresh point of view about what a women's handbag could communicate, is gone. The original Kate Spade was built around the idea that a handbag could be intelligent and playful simultaneously, that a woman did not have to choose between a bag that communicated professional seriousness and one that communicated personal wit. The original nylon tote, the Sam bag, the structured shoulder bags of the brand's early years were built to a construction standard that matched the design intelligence. Genuine materials, considered hardware, interior organization that reflected how the customer actually used the bag. The acquisition by Tapestry in 2017 introduced the commercial pressures of a publicly traded conglomerate into a brand that had been built around a specific and personal design philosophy. Quarterly earnings targets, volume requirements, margin expectations that a brand operating at Kate Spade's price point could only meet by reducing the construction quality the original positioning had established. The outlet production that now constitutes a significant and growing portion of the brand's distribution changed that relationship between price and construction in ways that the brand's marketing has never acknowledged directly. The outlet collection uses different materials, different construction standards, and a different quality control process than the mainline collection. Both carry the same logo on the outside. The logo is the same. The construction is not. A Kate Spade bag purchased today at a department store carries the name of a brand whose founding design intelligence is no longer reliably present in the product. And the customer who fell in love with Kate Spade in 2005 is frequently the customer who is most confused by what she finds when she returns to the brand in 2025. She is not imagining the difference. The difference is real. It is just not in the marketing materials. The next brand on this list did not get acquired. It simply collapsed under the weight of a retail model that was already failing before anyone inside the building was willing to say so. Number 5. Nine West. Nine West was the working woman's heel for 2 generations. The brand built genuine credibility through a product that actually performed for the customer who needed it. A reliable, well-constructed professional heel at a price that did not require a special occasion budget. That credibility was earned through the construction, not through the marketing. The heel stability that Nine West's best years produced was a specific and documented construction achievement, not a marketing claim. Women wore Nine West heels through full working days because the construction supported that use. The heel counter, the internal stiffener at the back of the shoe that keeps the heel correctly seated and prevents the shoe from collapsing inward with repeated wear, was built to a standard that the brand's price point did not have to deliver, but consistently did. The leather uppers in the brand's best years were a genuine leather that developed character with wear, rather than cracking and peeling within a single season. The brand filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018. The bankruptcy had been building for years before the filing. The shift from department store retail to online shopping had eroded the foot traffic that Nine West's distribution model depended on. The brand had invested heavily in retail space at precisely the moment that retail space was becoming a liability rather than an asset. The bankruptcy reorganization that emerged in 2018 restructured the company in ways that the brand's marketing never communicated to the customer who had built a 15-year relationship with the product. The footwear division was licensed to a separate operating company with different manufacturing relationships, different material sourcing standards, and different quality control processes than the brand had operated under in its best years. The synthetic uppers that now constitute a significant portion of the current range simulate the look of leather without the material properties that made leather worth the price. The heel stability that the brand's reputation was built on has become a recurring complaint in current reviews. Users report wobble and instability in heels that the brand's older reputation made unthinkable. The working woman who trusted Nine West for decades is now buying a product that the brand she trusted did not make and is not reliably replicating. At $60 to $90, the current Nine West is charging a price that reflects the legacy reputation rather than the current construction. And the gap between those two things is precisely where the brand's loyal customer gets caught every single time she returns, expecting what she remembers. If this list is making you question every brand you have trusted without examining recently, hit the like button right now, because that questioning instinct is exactly the right response. And this channel exists specifically to give you the knowledge to act on it. Number 4. Dooney and Bourke. Dooney and Bourke does not belong on this list in its entirety. The Alto and Florentine mainline collections still use full-grain leather, still apply saddle-stitch construction throughout, still deliver a construction standard that earns its position at the top of the accessible American leather goods market. The Dooney and Bourke that died is the outlet version, the one that flows through TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and the brand's own outlet stores under the same brand name, with a pebble-grain leather construction that is a fundamentally different material from the full-grain Alto and Florentine leather. Full-grain leather is the top layer of the hide, the layer that retains the natural grain surface, the surface that develops patina and character with age. Pebble-grain leather is a lower-grade material processed differently, priced differently, and performing differently across years of daily use. The outlet line is not the same bag at a lower price. It is a different bag at a price that implies equivalence. And the consumer who buys the outlet Dooney, expecting the mainline construction, is paying for a reputation the product in her hands did not earn and is not delivering. The practical difference shows up in the smell test. Full-grain Alto leather smells like leather at the hide level. Pebble grain does not produce the same olfactory experience because it is not the same material. It shows up in the weight test. Full-grain leather is heavier in hand than pebble grain at identical bag dimensions because the hide is thicker and denser. And it shows up in the aging test. Full-grain leather develops surface character with use. Pebble grain develops surface wear. Those are different outcomes from the same years of ownership. One improves the bag. One degrades it. But the brand name stayed the same. The construction diverged, and the marketing never once drew attention to the divergence. That is a quiet death, even when the brand is technically still alive. The next brand on this list did not split into mainline and outlet versions. It simply stopped evolving while everything around it kept moving. And a brand that stops evolving while its customer keeps changing is a brand that has already started dying, even if nobody has filed the paperwork yet. Number 3. Fossil. The construction argument is still very much alive. The leather is genuine. The hardware is solid. The value proposition, relative to comparable brands at higher price points, remains one of the strongest in the accessible market. What died at Fossil is the aspiration. The brand spent years attempting to position itself as a lifestyle brand rather than a functional leather goods brand. Launching smartwatch integrations, connected accessories, and a brand identity that tried to compete with the cultural positioning of brands whose marketing infrastructure Fossil had never built and could not sustain. That positioning attempt required advertising spend that the brand's margin structure could not comfortably support. It required retail partnerships that demanded a brand narrative the functional leather goods argument could not provide on its own. It required a customer who wanted to buy into a lifestyle rather than a leather bag, and it distracted the brand from the construction argument it was winning. While the lifestyle campaign was running, the brand's core leather goods value proposition was quietly becoming the best-kept secret in the accessible handbag market. Not because the product changed, because the marketing stopped talking about the product and started talking about an aspiration the construction could not fully support. The result was a brand that its most loyal customers understood better than its own marketing did. The women who kept buying Fossil crossbodies and leather totes through the smartwatch era were not buying the lifestyle. They were buying the solid brass hardware and the top-grain leather at a price that nothing else in the aisle could match. They were right to keep buying. The brand's marketing was wrong to stop talking about why. The fossil that died is the fossil that tried to be something it was not. The fossil that survived is the construction argument that was sitting quietly underneath the lifestyle campaign the whole time, waiting for the shoppers who knew to stop at the rack even when the marketing gave them no particular reason to. The next brand on this list attempted the same lifestyle aspiration on a larger scale, and the death it experienced was considerably more public and considerably more complete. Number 2. Tory Burch. Tory Burch is not a dead brand. It is a brand that died in a specific category while surviving in others. The leather-soled entry-level flats and ballet shoes that built the brand's accessible luxury reputation in the mid-2000s are the products that died. Not through a corporate acquisition, not through a bankruptcy restructuring, through a sole construction decision that prioritized the visual language of quality over the delivery of it. The leather sole on Tory Burch's entry-level flat looks and photographs like an investment quality detail. Leather soles are associated with higher-end shoemaking. The association is real and historically justified. Leather soles are used by heritage shoemakers because leather is a breathable, flexible, and resolable material that serves the foot well across years of wear when it is properly maintained. but a leather sole without a rubber or composite reinforcement at the high wear contact points. The ball of the foot and the heel strike wears through considerably faster under regular outdoor use than the leather sole association leads most consumers to expect. The pavement a working woman walks on every day is not the surfaces that leather-soled shoes were designed for. It is harder, less forgiving, and more abrasive than the surfaces that justified the leather sole's historical reputation. A leather sole without rubber reinforcement at the contact points on modern urban pavement is a leather sole that a cobbler will see within a season. Independent cobblers and a significant volume of customer reviews document the same pattern consistently. The leather sole on entry-level Tory Burch flats begins showing through to the midsole within a small number of wears on hard pavement, particularly in wet conditions where leather soles are especially vulnerable to accelerated wear. A shoe purchased for $250 to $350 is requiring sole repair or replacement within a single season of regular use. The cobbler visit, typically between $25 and $50 depending on location, is a mandatory additional cost that the retail price does not acknowledge. Meaning the true cost of owning a Tory Burch entry-level flat that can actually be worn outdoors without destroying its primary construction feature is higher than the tag communicates. The brand that the entry-level customer fell in love with promised investment-quality construction. The product delivered investment-quality presentation. Those are different things. And the consumer who has paid the price to discover the difference is not easily won back by a new colorway or a seasonal campaign that does not address the sole construction problem the previous season created. The last brand on this list died the most quietly of all 8 because it never made enough noise in the first place, and the death of a quiet brand is the easiest kind to miss. Number 1. Lulu's handbag category. Lulu's built its reputation in women's fashion as an online destination for occasion wear and going out styles at accessible prices. The brand understood its customer, young women who wanted trend-forward styling at a price point that did not require a credit card conversation. The brand's clothing category built a genuine and loyal following by consistently delivering the aesthetic the customer came for at a price she could justify without overthinking. The handbag category was always secondary to the clothing, a complementary offering rather than a founding proposition. But for a specific period, the structured clutches, the going-out mini bags, and the occasion evening bags that Lulu's produced carried a construction quality that exceeded what the price and the brand's fashion-first identity would have predicted. Genuine metal hardware that held its finish across the occasional but meaningful use that occasion bags actually receive. Fabric and faux leather constructions that held up to the kind of use that an evening bag experiences. The repeated opening and closing, the occasional overfilling, the inevitable contact with surfaces across a full evening of wear. A structured base that maintained the bag silhouette through the event it was purchased for. A product that did what it was purchased to do for the event it was purchased for. Then, the category quietly degraded. The hardware became lighter. The reduction was not dramatic enough to catch the attention of the casual browser comparing options on a website, but it was meaningful enough to show up in the hinge stress, the clasp tension, and the finish durability across even the light use that an occasion bag receives. The lining became thinner, in a bag used occasionally rather than daily. A thin lining can survive longer before the failure becomes visible, but thin linings in occasion bags develop the characteristic sagging and separation at the lining-to-frame junction that communicates cheap construction to any woman who has owned a well-made bag and can feel the difference in her hand. The structural base of the clutch constructions became softer. Softer in ways that the product photography never revealed. Because product photography shoots bags empty and styled, not loaded with the contents of a real woman's evening and expected to maintain their shape through 4 hours of an event. The occasion bag that Lulu's used to produce gave the customer an evening of confidence without a luxury price tag. The occasion bag that Lulu's produces today gives the customer an evening of low-level anxiety about whether the strap will hold and whether the clasp will stay closed through the whole event. That anxiety is not imagined. It is the product of construction decisions that the brand's own photography has never communicated and its marketing has never addressed. The brand's clothing category still serves its customer reasonably well. The handbag category has quietly stopped doing so. And the customer who discovered Lulu's bags in their better years and returned expecting the same product discovered the quiet death that this list was built to name. A brand does not have to file for bankruptcy to die. It does not have to close its stores or discontinue its products or issue a press release acknowledging that the thing its customers loved is no longer what it is selling. It only has to change the construction without changing the name. And then let the marketing do the work of maintaining the trust that the product is quietly forfeiting. That is the death this list is describing. Not a closure, not a bankruptcy, a quiet substitution. The logo stays, but the quality leaves. And the customer keeps paying for the logo long after the quality has gone. So yeah, that's it. These are 8 brands and 8 different ways a brand dies while the logo keeps the lights on. The test is always the same. The bag tells you the truth before the brand name gets a chance to tell you a story. This channel follows the money, not the marketing. Click the next video on the left right now.